Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your super late and mega hetero host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today, returning, is my very good friend, Mr. Ty Beard. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, it's always a mixed
Loaded
bag
question.
because life is so strange, but generally doing pretty well. Things are just busy as always, as life gets, but you know, other than
Well,
that,
I think I'm at a convention again. So,
yeah.
of course, we had to carry out the tradition. I'm at LongCon in Longview, Texas.
Oh wow, long
Yeah,
con.
yeah. I don't know if you remember East Texas geography. Longview is about 45 minutes to an hour from Tyler. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's a nice little,
I couldn't
con.
tell you which direction. I just know that I've been through it.
Yeah, yeah. No, the thing about Longview is the story I heard from clients whose parents were involved in the East Texas oil fields in the 30s is that Longview is where the workers lived, and Tyler, where I live, was where the managers and the owners lived.
Right.
And Kilgore, a little town between the two, is where the mistresses were.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I got that on
knew.
very good,
I never knew why Kilgore existed actually until just now. And now I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually gotta be true. But,
well, what's funny is those two towns, Tyler and Longview, in my opinion, to this day, and it's almost been 100 years, but Longview is very definitely a more blue collar town than Tyler. I would actually be probably a better fit in Longview, frankly, but
yeah, you're kind of a schlub. You don't belong with us elites.
No, not really.
It is funny how that works though, because I've known various wealthy people, and the difference in like their tastes is, I mean, it's as varied as any other class of people. I remember, so Lady Raggets and I were at this, we were in this small group at our church for a while, and right before COVID, and then COVID closed it down. So it's like, wow, I guess God didn't want us to do that anymore. But we this couple knew a couple farmers, and out here the farmers are the aristocracy, right? Like, because nowadays if you're a farmer, you tend to own at least 1,000 acres of land, and it goes up from there, or you're leasing, significant amounts of land so that you can actually harvest enough crops. You have to do this. But they were describing two particular farmers who had relatively the same level of success. And one of them is kind of the farmer you picture, up early in the morning, like when he goes to bed, he's just covered in like dirt and grime. He has to shower it off and everything. But he's like, all throughout the day, his hands are black with like oil from working on tractors and moving dirt and stuff like that. The other guy is a lawyer of the same capacity, or farmer of the same capacity, doing the same type of farming, and you never see him dirty at all. And he was usually wearing some sort of like suit or, a vest with a work shirt. He just meticulously and constantly kept himself clean because he liked being clean and freshly presented whenever he was anywhere, even if it was the middle of the day and he was going to get dirty again. I mean, he'd work on a tractor, spill oil all over everything, and then get cleaned up. And it's like, but that's how everybody is. You have that stratification everywhere. And people think of wealthy people as just, living these lives of opulence. But, I've known several wealthy people that lived very much upper middle class lives, but it was upper middle class, never to the consummate, to the level of wealth that they had achieved. And that was always strange to me, but it was cool.
Yeah, of course, my law practice, I specialize in working for self-made wealthy people. I'm very, for the most part, I work almost exclusively for first generation affluent.
Right.
If I have second or third generation, they're invariably, they're just the kids or grandkids of my original first generation of clients. And I really honestly think you see this reflected in the kids, what I'm about to say. A lot depends on when you achieve that level of success. Because I
Right.
mean, by the time you're 30, hell, by the time you're 25, you're who you're going to be. Um, you know, I mean, more money, great. I can buy more Warhammer 40K stuff. Oh, listen, we got to talk about my 3D printing experience. I am off into that crap now too, by the way. But yeah, I've been fortunate to have a pretty comfortable lifestyle for a good while. I've been dirt poor myself, certainly, but my interests haven't really changed. The Whatever my income is doesn't alter the things that I personally like.
Yeah, you're still a giant nerd,
Pretty much, yeah, yeah.
which is
Well,
why
it wasn't a
you're at a gaming convention in
gaming
Longview,
convention,
Texas.
Longview, Texas. Yeah, yeah.
Pretty
Well,
embarrassing.
when my wife and I bought new cars this year, I bought her this big, super expensive BMW thing. I bought a Bronco, man. I got
Hey,
me a
bro,
Bronco.
those are kind of cool though. I like them.
They really are. They're styled very reminiscent of the '60s Bronco, and it was great because when I got in the truck, I showed it to my daughters, and they hopped in, and Brittany goes, "Dad, it's like if a four-wheel drive truck were you." So apparently they thought it was a perfect fit. But yeah, it I've I haven't found I personally haven't known anybody that got successful, got what we'd call wealthy, whatever that is, and then suddenly changed who they were, all they were interested in, and all that. Usually they had leanings that are, I have seen some people acculturate a little bit, but even that's been fairly unusual. Well, what I mean is they suddenly get interested in cultural things like, art and museums and that kind of stuff.
Right. Because they suddenly have
But
time to.
yeah, but I suspect there was probably always some interest in that stuff. You know, it wasn't like they just went, "Oh, suddenly I have all this money. I will become an art person." I don't.
Right.
I mean,
No,
why
it's
would you do that?
yeah, never do that to yourself. No, they tend to be interested in things, but they are busy working. They can't afford it.
Mhm.
Engaging in the fine arts is a very expensive and thankless endeavor. Like, you can go to a movie theater, and it's expensive these days to go to a movie theater because you're dropping like $12 a ticket, 20 if you're in a city, and you're buying popcorn. It's like 10, 50. Oh my god! So at our stupid theater, not the close one, but the one in Wilmer that's about 15 minutes away. I was in there the other day, and when we don't go to the theater very often, but we go to the mall shopping, and the kids want to get popcorn, right? So we go in, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll have the biggest popcorn you got. And he's like, well, what kind do you want? You want the large? It's $10, or do you want one of these garbage bags full of popcorn? And I was like,
Really?
oh, I'm sorry. I used to work at a movie theater, and I know what you're talking about. I just didn't realize you sold them. How much is that? He's like, $21. And I'm like,
Popcorn.
wait a minute. So large popcorn is, a bag like
A
this
bucket.
big. This is a
Oh,
garbage bag, probably like a 10-gallon to 13-gallon garbage bag full of popcorn. It's easily like 10 larges
so
filling
they're
it.
going
And
to
he's
sell
just
you 20 cents worth of popcorn for $20 instead of 5 cents worth of popcorn for $10.
exactly.
I think they're making the money out of that
Oh, they
deal.
definitely are. That my question was always why they didn't do this sooner. Well,
Yeah.
but the obvious reason is because they could sell infinite of the $10 ones.
Hmm.
And then I was like, but
Hmm.
why? I wanted you to sell the $20 one forever, but why did you start? That's the dumbest thing you could have done because I would have just bought two of the $10 ones if I wanted more. But for $20, apparently you can buy. It's an embarrassing amount of popcorn. Ty, I have 5 children who all eat popcorn, plus me, and Lady Ragged sometimes eat popcorn, and you can't even finish this thing for days.
Well, that answers the question probably. You know, for families, that kind of stuff gets you. I've figured that out. I don't mind it. I adore being with my daughters and their husbands, but all of a sudden, we added two adults to our going out and doing stuff thing, and it's like, wow. I mean, I guess they're welcome if my daughters
Yeah,
insist
dinner
on
just
bringing
got
them.
2 whores higher. it's it's amazing how much it costs to go out to eat with adults. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
adding 2, and you have daughters, so you added 2 men, which
Yes.
means
Yeah.
you added 2
Right.
expensive assholes. Like,
Yeah.
that's not a
Yeah.
commentary
Field
on their
hands.
personality. It's just
Eating
like,
like field hands. Yeah.
yeah, they're like, wait, Papa-in-law is buying? Well, looks like I am getting the Wagyu.
I'm gonna get that bitch back.
Dude, I felt so bad the other day.
I've got good son-in-laws, I have to admit. Now, I hope they're not watching this show because I'm not serious. But
Nothing we've said is derogatory. It's what you do.
No,
it's
that's
what
right.
you do. You're like, well, look, I'm taking care of your daughter, so you can buy me a steak that is better than.
The one exception is going to lunch with your grandfather.
Oh,
because I remember this happened a number of times, but I remember the last time this happened, we went to some nondescript restaurant there in Tyler, and your granddad gets the bill, and he looks at it, and he goes, "Who the hell ordered the such and such?" And I could always tell your granddad was really uptight because he would, for him, hell is cussing, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I got the $5 burger, you know.
One time,
your mom goes, "Oh, Dad, I had that," and he goes, "Oh, okay."
One time, my grandmother was serious. Like, she asked how much it would be, I think, for extra ranch dressing or extra cheese sauce somewhere or something, and they're like 50 cents, and she's like, like pondering through it, and I was like, here's 50 cents. Like, just get the 50 cents. Like, just, what are you talking about? You drove here in a Lincoln.
One of the things that I learned, at least about the generation of clients that I represent, I'm not sure that's necessarily true of our generation and younger, is that a dollar is still a dollar, no matter how wealthy they get.
Right.
And I mean, you know, and I've been fortunate enough lately to have some successes and stuff. And I catch myself doing that when it's like, I'm not paying $10 for that. And I'm like, well, is it really the end of the world if you spend $10 on it? And it's like, well, it kind of is.
So I'm enjoying this super lovely chat, and I need to take just a pause from it for a second to Stream. I know you're there. I just haven't gotten to talk to Ty in a while, and I'm enjoying very much catching up with him and just ruminating on life. We will be going into very soon the topics that we have for the evening, and then wherever the conversation takes us. One of the things I really wanted to bring Ty on for is to talk. We've been talking a lot about these Trump cases, and the New York real estate case is something I really like having Ty for, because as he stated, his clientele is almost exclusively first generation wealth, self-made. But with that comes commercial transactions, real estate transactions, things like business valuations, the buying and purchasing of properties, of businesses, of commodity in general. And what we see going on in the Trump lawsuits in New York, and I know I've been talking a lot about these, but you have to understand like how important. I don't like talking about Trump that much in general, but how important all of these lawsuits are in their own way. This Trump lawsuit in New York, what they're doing with valuation and how they're treating it is evidence in and of itself of obvious bias and is appealable as error just straight out the gate. And so I wanted to bring someone. Right. Yeah. I wanted to bring someone who actually does this type of stuff, who does business valuations, who knows how you litigate and argue those in front of judges, and noting, of course, that Trump didn't get to litigate the valuations. The judge just took the New York Attorney General's valuations and said that Trump was fraudulent. But we're going to talk about that a little bit from that perspective. Yeah. And on that same note, we're going to get into a little bit of the gag orders against Trump and his attorneys. One of them today was phenomenal. But I wanted to announce that on Wednesday of next week, I'm bringing on a Mr. Ron Coleman, a First Amendment expert and a renowned litigator and also a good friend. He's going to come on and we're going to talk specifically about the gag orders against Trump, the Trump election interference cases. And we're going to talk about those from primarily a First Amendment constitutional perspective, because that's his wheelhouse, is fighting for the First Amendment. So that's going to be Wednesday of next week at 11 p.m. Central. I just wanted to let you guys know that's Trump is on the menu as long as they keep making extremely important questions of law and constitutionality matter in regards to him. I got to keep talking about him because this is a time that you don't see when they say that, you know, Trump's the first indicted president, blah, 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 blah.
They've
Th-
weaponized the system to defeat a political opponent,
It's
and we've never crossed that bridge before
it's
that I'm aware of.
it's 235 years without
Mhm.
anything like this happening, and Trump is such a unique firebrand, that is the driving force behind this. They're so terrified, they're willing to sacrifice all of the handshake agreements that our country has had from its founding to today. And it's rare that that happens. You have to think about, George Washington, for example, set up the 2-year or the 2-term presidency as a matter of courtesy to the American people from a president, that you
Mhm.
need to move on from me as a president because the country needs to grow, and time in the White House is time not being an American in a particular type of way. It remained that
Good
way
way to say it.
until 1943, I think, with FDR, when he gets
Uh,
elected, and they have to pass the amendment that
1940.
says, yeah, they have to write an amendment that says, yeah, presidents cannot get elected for more than 2 terms. We thought everybody understood this, but this guy's on number 4. And then he died, of course, before the 4th term had, I think, even started.
Talk about dodging a bullet, by the way.
Yeah. Another
Him
term of
not
FDR,
because
we would be Russia. We would be a
there
Scandinavian
could have
country.
been 6 or 7 terms of FDR if he had lived, because I mean the mood of the country at that particular time,
Thank
right or
God God
wrong,
crippled him.
hmm harsh but fair. Harsh
What a
but
piece,
fair.
what a piece of shit that guy was. I have almost no respect for FDR other than
No.
his ability to largely unite the populace during World War II. But how hard is it to unite the populace during World War II? And he arguably didn't
Well,
do the best job of it.
no, ironically, one of the things that's little appreciated is all these Confederate monuments that are being torn down and everybody's blowing a gasket about. A great many of those were made in the 1930s because Roosevelt very cynically appealed to Southern pride as a mechanism to bring the country together.
Yeah.
You know, there's him lathering up 80-year-old Gettysburg veterans, veterans of the blue and the gray. I mean, he was a cynical piece of shit.
What a weird
And
thing to think, though, that you could, that
you
you
know,
in the 20th century as a president with the radio could actually reach out and appeal to people who fought in the Civil War. Like, the concept of
yeah,
that is mind blowing. Um, but yeah, FDR is a pile of garbage, but it's a unique time in the history of the country where he tried to do similar things as president that they're trying to do to Trump to change the structure
mhm,
of our country. He threatened to just impose his will by appointing
yeah,
specifically subservient justices to outnumber the Supreme Court and make them irrelevant just to approve the New Deal, because the New Deal was getting slashed up like a Mexican drug dealer. I mean, it was really in shambles.
well,
And then he
because
says, yeah,
economic due process wasn't a theory. They actually get the right to contract, which appears in the Constitution. You know,
right. And if
but
you guys have ever heard the expression "a stitch in time saved 9" and wonder where that came
mhm,
from, that was the court capitulating to FDR and preserving a 9-justice Supreme Court when he threatened to just pad it with 10 justices that were favorable to make them
yeah,
entirely irrelevant. Like
a
that
switch in time that saved 9.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
that's it. That's where that comes from, and most people have no idea that that's the root of the expression. But so we're going to talk Trump because it's important. I brought Ty on, one, because he's at a gaming convention, it's tradition, but 2, because he has lots of experience in his career, specifically in this idea of valuation, buying and selling, and the subjectivity of it, which is critical to market value. Market
Mhm,
value is
mhm.
subject to so many concerns, and you can't just go, well, some bean pusher in a county office says it's this, therefore it is. That's ludicrous. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna talk about the attorneys getting gagged, because I know Ty loves when judges tell him to be quiet. And then we'll talk about some guns. We'll talk about gaming. We'll talk about hobbies. We'll talk about just being in this crazy fucking world that we're in as we go, for sure. But I wanted to say one more story relative to what we were talking about earlier. I felt so bad the other day. Lady Raggets and I were down in West Palm Beach, Florida, because we went to Mar-a-Lago. We got invited down there, which was fun. And we went to a dinner with a couple friends that she and I had met the husband years and years ago, long before I did YouTube or anything, at an art event with my parents, and he is the manager of an artist. His sister is a once in a lifetime talent, like a generational talent. Some of you may actually be familiar with one of her more famous pieces of work. Her name is Akian, and the work is, if you guys remember, there's this like 8-year-old kid who died, and then his dad wrote a book called Heaven is for Real, and he was describing this kid. Like, the kid died and came back, and the kid like described heaven. And a lot of people think it's a hoax or what. I have no idea, but this kid died and had some near-death experience, came back, allegedly described it. They wrote the book, and they asked this kid, they put a bunch of pictures of different Jesuses in front of him, and they asked him to point out who Jesus was, the one that he met. And he pointed to a particular painting, and I'll pull it up here. And it was actually painted by Akian when she was, she was so young when the Prince of Peace is the painting. Hold on. I've got it. Let me pull it up here. If you guys, I don't know if you guys care about art, but this is painted. I think she was 12 when she painted this, or 14. Wow. So this is the painting. And there's oh no, she was 8. She was 8 when she painted this picture. The original is huge. The original was actually bought. It was stolen from their family by their agent. It was bought by an atheist and locked in a vault for decades and just completely lost. They eventually found it, but I don't know if I think they got it back. Well, there's a YouTube video about it right here. But anyway, she's an amazing artist, and she painted this when she was 8. Her new works they're unreal. So like, look at you.
I can only imagine if she did that at 8. I'm not even an art guy. If it's not a tank or a plane,
it's when you see her later works too. I mean, these things take like 100 hours. Like, they're not flippant paintings, right? But you look at it and it's like it's a level of talent that you cannot see. Her brother is her manager, and when I met them years ago, he and I just had great conversations all night. We're just sitting there chatting, having a great time. Well, I haven't talked to him since, and then he has since gotten married and stuff, and was down in the area, and so he's like, let's hang out. And so Lady Raggets and I went to dinner with he and his wife, so we could kind of catch up and learn about their life. But I felt so bad because we went to this really nice Asian restaurant, and they had an 18-year Yamazaki tie, which I, of course, it's like, wow, you can't find a Yamazaki 18 too many places. I buy a Yamazaki 18, and then I got a 12-year Whistle Pig because they had that, and I was like, wow, Whistle Pig's delicious. And then we get to the end, and I'm like, I'm getting my credit card out, and he's like, no, I got it. And I'm like, God, I would have bought cheaper liquor.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
Damn it. So I told him, like, next time in 10 years when we're going to see you again, it'll be on me. I'm just hoping that one of us is dead before then.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine how much liquor he'll buy in revenge. But no, but that's the problem.
Let's hope he's a nicer than you would be.
That's the problem with going out with adults, right? Like with buying food for adults. So I was just relating back to you have these 2 son-in-laws now, and it's like, well, dinner was expensive. Now dinner's a mortgage.
Well, in my case, it's well worth it. I have no complaints. But I will tell you this: I've started my son-in-laws on. I've told them that I want them to become conversant with the '80s so that they would understand me better. So I began by having them watch Conan the Barbarian and heavy metal. We did that
Very good.
Well, we get together. The 3 of us get together every month or so, just the guys, and we go hang out and do guy stuff. And that was they had not seen each one of them. I think I must have said, "God, I miss the '80s" about a half dozen times. But
I wake up saying, "God, I miss the '80s."
Yeah.
It's it was a magical time, right? It's like in Agents of Shield whenever they would talk about him going to Tahiti, he's like, it's a magical place. It's like that's the 80s. It's a magical time. Everything was amazing at all times. All right, let's hit these a couple super chats and then let's go into this topic here. MLS Making Law Simple says Nick is cool, but her typo, you're definitely a lawyer, that's real, would be a lot cooler if he built Lego with me and Valhalla Waits. Oh, and also followed Valhalla back on Twitter. I thought I already followed Valhalla because I got AIDS, but I guess I'll try again. As far as building Legos with you guys on stream, he sent me the date. I just have to see if it's possible. I'm in if I can do it. I just don't know if I can. Scott Rauch says,
you're actually going to physically build Legos, or do you do it virtually?
No, build them physically on stream, like while you're talking. Similar to, I do painting streams on occasion. I need to set one up with Sargon of Akkad and my friend Heel versus Babyface. We get our minis out and we paint them while talking about whatever, and it's some of the greatest stuff.
I've been painting old school 1970s, late 1970s D&D minis, only using modern painting techniques, and it's really surprising how nice those miniatures were in those days. We just didn't know how to paint them.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, we slap model paint on them and hope for the best, you know.
So I've met so many artists now that don't paint minis or anything. They do like art as a profession in all these ways. What I really want to do someday is buy the same mini, a whole bunch of copies of it, with them having no context to what they are. Send it to each of them and just commission them to, without knowing anything, I want you to just paint this the way you would paint it, like in their own styles. I think that would be one of the coolest things.
That would be cool. A lot of the miniature painting creators ought to get together and do something like that. It's a good idea.
No, I don't want mini painting creators. I want artists. Like I want
artists. Interesting.
Yeah, I want people who paint canvases who don't paint minis. I want them who don't know anything about the properties to come up and like just look at a mini, go, here's what I see on it, and do it. And see what they come up with. I think that would be wild.
That would be cool. My style is it turns out very nice. I got to say, I turn out very nice tabletop miniatures. Okay, they're not in any way, you know, super golden demon awarded stuff. But
I've seen them. They are very good.
I paint them fast, like really fast. These fantasy miniatures, I'm averaging about 8 minutes a miniature because I'm actually don't enjoy the really detailed, just, you know.
Do you use the new those contrast paints? So I have the army painter set, and they have this thing where you like it's literally a dip method where you you prime them and then you dip them in a base coat and then you dip them in a contrast paint when that dries, and it's like done outside of little
So that technique is not the slap chop and all that. That technique has been around since the early 80s. We called it stain painting back in the day. And all it is you do a white undercoat and then you thin the paint down and you paint. And that's been my go-to painting method for 40 years, you know.
Oh wow.
The new contrast paints though really are nice because they're formulated specifically for that technique. Although I got to tell you, the Army Painter Speed Paint 2.0 set, those are badass. They are fast. They are good. You can slap it on there and it looks great. That's what I've been using. I've been painting up about 100 Grenadier Dungeons and Dragons miniatures from like 1979, 1980, that time frame. And they look great. And I mean, and it's literally just one coat, you know. I'd strongly encourage those.
I've still never finished a painted piece at all. Like I'm painting a 7-inch Todd McFarlane Space Marine. And it's
stupid.
What?
Yeah. So my friend Tom Tullis of Fat Dragon Games did a miniature called Tyrone the Bearded Barbarian. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a barbarian figure theoretically through a certain prism of me. So I bought a 3D printer and I've got a 6-inch version of it that I painted gold, like a gold idol. And I meant to bring it to be on your show and show it off. Oh, well.
Too bad. Too bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Swedish Asylum Seeker says Nick has money now and became an art guy and got a GT 500. No, you mistake me. I was an art guy long before I had any money. I actually saved up and bought art when I was a struggling, uh, a struggling, um, you know, grunt employee at shitty banks, because I've always been into art. The fine arts are, I mean, I was a writing major, guys, and I'm gay, so obviously I was. And the GT 500, I've wanted a fast car since I was 8. Those are not new character traits. The newness of the car was merely I didn't need to have a van anymore. Like I have one, and I didn't need my next car to be able to port a bunch of children because I had sufficient ability to do that. So I could finally buy a car for myself, that didn't have to worry about a car seat fitting in it, or more appropriately, 2 to 3 car seats fitting in it at any given time. So those are, it's funny, but it's also not true. Like I've always been into those things. I just finally got the ability to do it. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that. Let's see. Xander's Rand says, Ty, I met Andrew, Legal Mindset Japan, and gave him the same Babylon Bee book I worked on that I gave you. Sadly, I don't have work now. Know anyone who might want to hire a guy who worked for Babylon Bee and Daily Wire before?
I don't, but golly, if you have anything to do with Babylon Bee, as funny as they are, you ought to be able to find work somewhere, because
I'm sure you could find the work for the Onion if you want to be gay.
I remember when the Onion was really funny. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was, and it used to be really funny.
Of course, Jezebel has gone down. You know that, don't you? The Jezebel
has gone down. Like, yeah, Jezebel going down is a funny joke in and of itself.
Okay, yeah, I messed that up. The website, they're out of business. And
are they?
Razor Fist, good. Yeah, Razor Fist had a video. It was called "Begone Thought."
Oh my God, no. I just remember so many years ago, they had, it was like the Schick CEO finally says, "Fuck it, we're doing 5 blades." It was like, and then of course they ended up doing that, but it was like, that was great. It's like the razor blade wars, like 2 blades. This is back when 3 blades is the new thing. It's like, fuck it, we're doing 5 blades. It's like, yes. Music and Fiction says, good evening, counselors. Tonight we celebrate as the ATF got ass blasted in Brito versus ATF and Vanderstock versus Garland in the 5th district. Well, 5th circuit, I think you mean. And the Cherry Jezebel, the feminist website, is gone. Hashtag cheers. Fantastic. Jezebel deserved every bad thing that can happen to it. Although
God, I love the 5th Circuit.
Yeah,
I just love those guys.
But that's going to go to the Supreme Court, and I'm really concerned how they're going to take those cases, because Clarence Thomas laid out a great standard in Bruin that says, the Second Amendment meant something when they wrote it, and it still does. And so you have to go back to when they wrote it and find a restriction that they would have had back then, which is literally impossible.
Sure.
And so now they're
because the Second Amendment was not created to protect us from deer.
Right. Actually, the Second Amendment wasn't created to protect us from anything. That's what I've been pushing a lot.
No, you're right about that. It was created to keep the government, the federal government. I see, but you got to remember too, though, at that time, the state constitutions all had right to keep and bear arms. So I'm not sure. Well, once the Civil War happened and all of a sudden states couldn't do anything the federal government couldn't do, that was a profound change to our system, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the Reconstruction and the 14th Amendment were huge. And so those are the 2 periods they look at, 1791 and 1868. But the crazy thing is, there's this case right now that says, that it goes after her protective orders in domestic abuse cases, and says, well, someone under a protective order can't own a gun. And that's actually being challenged because that's not a historically recognized restriction. But the reason I say that it wasn't made to protect us from anything is very simple. Once you say that the Second Amendment was for self-defense, or the Second Amendment was for for defense of tyranny, or the Second Amendment was for anything other than just because you have a fucking right to own a gun, you've capitulated on the point and given them a window to say, okay,
That
well,
doesn't exist anymore.
right. Self-defense, you can do that with a handgun with 10 rounds. I mean, why would you need any more than that? You're not going to be attacked by more than 10 people. And certainly you can't fight the government with just a single fire rifle. I mean, they have tanks. So that doesn't make sense. Like you can never give them the reason why the thing exists because and this is funny because I've just been going through the Seventh Circuit opinion upholding the assault weapon ban in Illinois. And they actually conclude, Ty, get this, that the AR-15...
My head's going to explode, isn't it?
The AR-15 can be regulated in the same way that a fully automatic M16 can because the court has concluded that there is no distinguishable difference between an AR-15 and an M16.
So they're just making stuff up, literally making stuff up.
They just said that like a semi-automatic is the exact same as a fully automatic rifle. That's what they said, ignoring obviously that the whole difference is the reason that one has been banned since 1986 and the other one has not. But that's what they conclude. But the reason they do that is they say that the Second Amendment only applies to self-defense, and these are not these are not items that are ideal and in common use for self-defense purposes, and that extended round magazines are exclusively for military use. I mean, it's the dumbest things ever.
Oh, I couldn't read that decision. I was like, my blood pressure can't.
It's insane. But
the left has lost its mind over AR-15s. I mean, they're the scary looking guns. They have just gone completely round the bend on anyway. But
yep. No, it's nutty. Okay, real quick. Sevi says, or Sevi, welcome to Paralegal. Thank you. And Scott Roush says, should have just had my milestone comment say you're late and gay. That's true. Oh, and he also said, heard you ran into Viva Law at Trump's place. Yes. Viva posted or tweeted a picture of us on his Twitter. You can find it there. All right, dude, let's talk about this Trump topic here. First of all, let's get to the most important part of this. Dom Lucre, who I did meet at Mar-a-Lago, has posted a picture of Trump's lawyer. She's been doxxed, Alina Habba. And this is a picture of her allegedly at Mar-a-Lago. So I wanted to just, kind of let people know that this has happened out there. So here she is. Allegedly, this is her at Mar-a-Lago. So I'm not sure, but I don't know where. This is not where I was at. A different pool at Mar-a-Lago than this one. I don't know if this is at Mar-a-Lago, or it might be on the like club side of it. But that's her. Let me pull up the article though that we're going to talk about.
So they doxed her, the left, I guess.
I have no idea if they did. Dom Lucre posted the picture. Dom Lucre is hilarious. But here we go. So the background of this case is, of course, that Donald Trump is evil. Right. Okay, I can actually let me pull up this picture. It's an aerial view of Mar-a-Lago. So clearly that was back here. That was the pool. You can tell by the shape back here. That's the pool that she was at. This is where the event was held here up front in the main area of Mar-a-Lago. There's the fountain that I took a picture with Lady Rackets in front of. And the over here is where we actually, I think it was in here is where we watched the movie. So this is kind of the layout of the place. So we weren't over here by the ocean, at the pool by the ocean. But I want everybody to realize that this is an $18 million property, according to the New York Attorney General's office.
So ridiculous, it's not even funny.
Ty, you don't wait. What are you saying? That 18 million is way too high, is what you're saying?
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, it's oceanfront property.
Well, right. Yeah. Let's pull back to where the complaint originally starts. So the original complaint is that on financial disclosure, anytime you borrow money from a bank, they're going to ask you to fill out a balance sheet, your assets and your liabilities. Okay. Now, they never require them to be audited. They never even require them to be backed up with appraisals, because the way you determine, the actual way in the real world you determine what something's worth is you actually sell it. right?
Yeah, that's the
But
only way you can determine
the
an
true
actual
fair
market
market
value.
value.
Yep.
But our tax code, we have any number of elements of our financial system that require us to get some kind of reasonable approximation of fair market value. So the next step down from actually selling it is to hire someone who is qualified to do appraisals in that particular space. A commercial real estate appraiser, for example. And what they do is exactly what you'd expect. They look at comparable sales of similar properties in similar areas and similar conditions. And they kind of, and the really sophisticated ones will look at the revenue that the property can generate. And it's very common to for when you're appraising a business as opposed to just a piece of property, you'll have three different methodologies and then you'll average the values determined. But at the end of the day, you get an expert opinion. And that's all it is. The expert says, as an expert, it's my opinion that this value is this amount. That expert is not guaranteeing you'll be able to sell it for that price. They're certainly not going to be on the hook if you can't. But appraisals cost a lot of money and they take a lot of time, and they're only good for a very narrow area, time range, usually 30 days. So it's simply not practical in financial when you're doing a commercial loan transaction with banks to have everything appraised. What the lender wants more than anything else is a list of what you have. The
Right.
values, the lender never goes, okay, well, boy, if that was $1 less, we wouldn't loan him the money. So when you're filling that out, all you're really saying is, in my good faith opinion, this value is about right. That's it. That's it. And the banks in this case loan Trump the money. They all got paid back.
Mhm.
There was no harm to anyone. Now I have a friend who is an investment banker, and he's a liberal. He lives in New York, and he popped off to me. He said, "Well, yes, but those banks could have made more money by charging him more interest." I said, "Fine,
Why didn't
let's
they?
apply the." Why didn't they? And I said, "But I'm okay with that. Just as soon as you're willing to let me apply the same standards to all these public companies that have these DEI programs,
Oh yeah.
because aren't and I mean, it was like record scratch, pin drop. He didn't want to talk about it anymore
So
because the policy is the same.
of course it is. Yeah.
Fine, the banks hypothetically could have made more money if they had had an exact picture of Trump's asset values. Well, a DEI program is making decisions not at all related to profitability, and a company could theoretically make a lot more money if they didn't have DEI programs. Fine. And see, that's where this heads, right? Because here's the thing: I don't want to hear about taking the high ground when my side's in charge. Um, so the law is asinine. No one complained. Okay, no one complained. The thought, I mean, I didn't know this. You actually told me this. I never could figure out why in the hell Trump would agree to a bench trial. Well, you tell me. The statute
Yeah.
requires that.
Now, everybody, all of the media, with all of their good research, maligned Trump's lawyers and said that they forgot to check a box requesting a jury trial, because that's usually, especially in New York, and I only know this from covering other civil cases in New York. You have a civil cover sheet, and especially when you go to one of the specialized courts. So, guys, there's New York City specifically has so many cases because it's such a densely populated area with a ton of money that they actually do have specialized judges. They have a commercial district court, which is for commercial transactions or commercial lawsuits in excess of $500,000 of damages. Those get tracked to specific commercial judges who have expertise handling only those cases. You'll see similar things with family law cases. You'll see similar things with real estate cases. And you find this mostly in heavily metropolis areas because they have so many cases coming through. They want the judges to expeditiously go through them by having expertise in those cases and dealing with those things. So this goes through a specific type of court. This judge handles these cases. I would assume, I guess I didn't check if Engeron actually does, but he would handle these cases normally in this process. But because it's a civil trial or a civil trial brought by the attorney general, it's not a criminal trial. You're not entitled to a jury trial. There's no criminal penalty that can be imposed upon you. So you don't have your constitutional right to a jury trial in that way. They can actually, by statute, create a court that handles these cases that does not recognize the jury trial protection, because the state Constitution of New York doesn't authorize a higher level of jury trial requirement, like some other states might. But so you have this thing, and the media just flat out lies about it. But normally you would have a civil cover sheet,
No.
and you'd check off all these boxes, and you'd check off a request for a jury trial. If the other person requested a bench trial, there may be a motion briefing on it, or they may just grant it. It kind of depends on the state and the circumstances. But the media said, yeah, Trump's lawyers dropped the ball. And then the judge, to his credit, one of the only things I'll credit him for, actually did come out and say, no, they could have motioned for a jury trial, and I would have just dismissed it out of hand without argument, because you don't get one in these cases. And it has set up one of the most abusive cases you could imagine for something so public specifically. Like, but I wanted to share this real quick. This is a property valuation. Here's Mar-a-Lago in the red down here. It's 62,000 square feet of building space, of space in the structures. And then, this massive property right on the ocean. Here is a neighboring property that is valued right up here at $26 million, according to Zillow. Now, Zillow is going to do something. It's going to use an algorithm typically to take the most recent sale, maybe apply some comps in the area, and generate a rough estimate. It's not a reliable estimate specifically, unless the sale is really recent. It'll be very good at that point. But, Zillow is a good barometer for just something like this, where Zillow's estimating this tiny property. It's actually really not tiny. It's really nice to be 26 million. It's ludicrous to imagine that this is an $18 million property adjacent to it.
My head's going to explode, because that $18 million valuation came from their property tax appraisal district. That was a valuation for property tax purposes. It is not fair market value. In fact, if you tried to use that valuation on, say, an estate tax return or a gift tax return, the IRS would dismiss it out of hand and say, no, you didn't even try to meet your burden of proving the value of the property. I mean, this judge is a moron. He's also apparently a perv. What's the whole top?
Oh, I haven't even talked about that.
Topless pictures. Yeah. And of course the media, it's all topless pictures. Yeah, I bet.
They're not topless. Have you seen them?
No.
Oh, we got to do it. We got to do it.
Okay.
Judge Edragon
and by the way, I stand by my statement that I have yet to meet a judge that was ever known to be a really good lawyer before he became a judge. Sorry.
Trump posts weird story about bare-chested pics of Judge Arthur Engoron of weird story that accuses him of it.
Weird story?
I mean,
except he did it.
Well, alleged shirtless photos of fraud trial judge. I mean,
a lot more than shirt was missing.
Oh yeah, a lot more than shirt was missing.
So the media would lie about that. Nick,
they're not
as if the media is not objective or something.
Where is the picture? They just shockingly, it's not in the article here. Let me find it. Latest attack on the judge. Maybe this is it. Come on. Where is it? Where's the post? Oh, is this one of those things that we're not allowed to show? That's weird. Let's see. I
bet YouTube will block it.
Engoron, we'll do topless pictures. My search algorithm is fucked. Oh God. Where is it? I've seen them. I've seen the pictures. It looks a lot like him. Where is it? Come on. This is amazing. They're just whitewashing.
Lecture us some more about the decorum in your courtroom, Your Honor, when you're sending selfies of your junk. I mean, come on. While you're doing that, I want to make another comment.
Is this it? Yeah, go ahead. Here we go. I've got it.
Okay.
All right.
Steal yourselves. One of those Last of Us moment.
Steal yourselves, lads. What is coming you are not ready for. So here we go. Colin Rugg on X says, breaking: the judge presiding over Trump's New York City trial appears to have a peculiar hobby of posting half-naked photos of himself on a high school alumni newsletter he controls, as reported by Marco Polo 501c3. The 74-year-old judge Arthur Engoron appeared to even post a bonus torso photo in what looks like the bathroom of a gym. One set of images seems to be progress pictures. One picture of a frailer, malnourished male, assumed to be Judge Engeron, is labeled October 2020. Another picture labeled August 2021 shows the same body flexing excessively to try and show off his muscle gains. Well, obviously, he was eating the souls of the dead COVID victims. Judge Arthur Engeron is the editor of the Wheatley School Alumni Association newsletter, according to a post on the website where the photos were posted.
Yes, he's still trying to bang the cheerleader.
This man is
from high school.
well. So here's here's one of them. Look at where's the camera doing down here? That's a below navel camera. Both of those are below navel cameras. We can all learn from this man. Guys, if you wanted to learn how to take that sexy gym selfie, it's right there. What you first need to do is be an emaciated 80-year-old. And this is him on the left. I mean, he has better shoulders than me. So I'm embarrassed. I don't know who this guy is. That's weird.
Gym rat, but I mean,
but like these looks like those arms. I mean, look at how big his bicep vein is. My man is juicing.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Look, I'm not an expert on this, but that looks like a juiced vein to me. Any of you guys know anybody on anabolics, guys? This guy looks on. Where's Camelot? Camelot's my gear identifier. Where is he? That dude looks. Your veins don't just do this.
Well, and that might
not when you look like
some of his really weird courtroom outbursts and stuff. That might explain some of that too.
I mean, my man looks like he went to summer camp at Auschwitz, but he's got a big friggin' vein coming down that arm. That's all I'm saying.
Take it away now, please.
So this is him, unless this is photoshopped, which you'd think someone would come out and say that. And then here's the arm
someone
comparison.
Would have denied it. Yeah. The vein is about right. Yeah.
I mean, look, guys, I don't lift. I don't have a vein that looks like that. That's not a common feature in 76-year-old men, right? Ty, do you know any 76-year-old men who have a vein the size of a fucking Bic pen?
Not really, no.
How many 76-year-old men veins are you looking at, Ty?
Not many.
What's your sample size? So yeah, he's
more than I want to.
And guys, you know that you've been watching this channel long enough to know this. Lawyers are weirdos. Of course, I have no doubt that that's him. Not a single shred of doubt that that's him. That doesn't surprise me at all. And
Roid Rage explains some of his courtroom antics, I think, a little bit too. You really might be onto something.
To be clear, I have no problem with him taking like shirtless pictures and posting them wherever the hell he wants. Like, go ahead. Like, who cares? It's weird, like you're old or whatever, but it doesn't mean
being
anything.
Crass and vulgar is something Trump gets criticized for constantly. And so,
yeah, it's,
Nick,
but my point in this is like in a vacuum, there's nothing to do with this, but Trump points out like this. Hey, this guy's a weirdo. Look at him. Weird guy. You haven't seen me posting my shirtless pictures. I send them to Melania. She rejects them every time, leaves me on red, tells me don't do that. It's embarrassing. But then I just keep doing it because I know she actually likes him. It's wonderful. She's so great. Beautiful woman. But I'm not posting him on the school newsletter. But yeah, it's just funny. Like and when he just goes, yeah, he does this, and they're like, oh, what a bizarre story for Trump to share. It's like, well, what made it bizarre? I didn't think it was bizarre at all. Like, I'll post my shirtless pictures all over the internet. I don't care, like, not really, but I do hot tub streams. Like, I'm an idiot. Like,
but he did it.
It's Boosh says it's at a high school. No. It's a high school alumni newsletter. So these are
he's still trying to impress the cheerleaders from high school.
The funny thing is,
weird is that
if they did one cheer, their hips would break. Like,
okay. Back to the case, Nick. One of the things I find fascinating.
It's the case. I'm half joking, but it is the case because this is the judge. And this case.
Well, congratulations, New York. You have beclowned the legal system in a way that I honestly didn't think was possible. It's not like I have the greatest opinion of our legal system.
Yeah, harder than we all do. Like, that's embarrassing.
Oh my God. We're amateurs compared to these nuts. nuts.
Oh,
But
Ty,
what's fascinating? Yeah.
real quick. So I beat some old ethics cases that I thought I'd beaten a long time ago, but I finally got the letters confirming it. And they keep saying, I don't have them down here. They say in both of them, they're like, now his conduct did fall short of what we expect from an attorney.
Oh,
but there's not sufficient evidence to find to warrant a disciplinary action in this case. We wish he would uphold his oath to conduct himself in an upright and or an upstanding and forthright manner. And I'm like, I actually didn't do anything that normal lawyers do that is scummy. Like, I laughed at something as a broadcaster. That's all I did. That's what I did.
Well,
I laughed at
and
people
there's
made
that
fun of them.
bothersome First Amendment thing where you get to actually say what you want to say.
It's amazing.
And the fact that you're a member of the legal profession doesn't change that.
Well, and think about what they're saying. So my entire defense. So one of the specific ones, the specific complaint that was raised was I called another attorney in a case against me while I was unrepresented. I said he was acting like a cunt. And so he said that was that violated my duty of being civil during representation. I was like, well, I was represented. I wasn't representing myself. I was not representing a client. I was actually represented at the time. Blah 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 blah. But my entire appeal or my explanation back to the Professional Responsibility Board, which I talked to a couple lawyers to get advice on this, and they said you should get an expert, but you should really think about what you said. And I was like, you know what? I'm not hiring an ethics lawyer for this because I got this, B. And I just wrote back, the reason I said he was acting like a cunt is because he was.
Yeah.
And I said it about 10 times in the explanation that he was acting like a cunt. And I reminded them that I could. And so then they come out and they're like, well, this is conduct that, falls short of what we expect as an attorney. I'm like, this motherfucker lied in his pleadings. He decided just to not respond to what he considered to be opposing counsel, which he would have found out I was representative. All he did was return one phone call or one email, but he didn't. He did all this stuff, which is why I called him a cunt. And I'm like, and I'm the one who fell short of expectations of an attorney, because on my broadcast as a represented party talking to about my own situation, I called him a dirty name. And wait,
hurt his feelings.
The expectation that you have for your attorneys, lawyers, Professional Responsibility Board, is that they will submit themselves and prostrate themselves and forego their First Amendment right. What are we defending if we will not embrace the First Amendment? Like that's the baffling thing to me. It's like, well, this is conduct that we do not support. Like, well, I don't care if you support it.
Well, first
or not,
of all, who gives a shit what a bunch of dirtbags who can't get a job in the ethics department, in your bar ethics group care anyway? I mean,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I said it.
but it's like, it just blows my mind that their idea of conduct that they would expect from an attorney would be to ignore, like to literally ignore the First Amendment right to speak their mind. I'm like, no. We need to embrace the First Amendment. We need to speak candidly. We need to be able to say the thing. I was not speaking for shock value. I was giving an honest assessment of his behavior. And he actually misrepresented. He said, I called him a cunt. I said, no. I said he was acting kind of like a cunt, which is very different.
Yeah, it is. Well, I think you should be able to call him a cunt.
Well, I do too, but
I've actually invited opposing counsel to go out into the parking lot and settle our differences. So I can't imagine.
I agree. I should
because
be able
he
to.
was acting in that way.
But that was the thing. I didn't think that he was inherently worthy of the description. I just thought that he was acting like it at the time, like because I've worked with him before and I didn't have any problems with him. He was fine, but he was acting very strange. I'm like, what? Just because you're opposing counsel, you have to now be like something less than you were. That was the whole commentary was how taken aback I was by his behavior in the case because I had known him to be a professional attorney.
And this wussy reported you to the bar?
Oh, yeah.
What an absolutely pathetic, worthless. I mean, anybody that would hire a wimp of that level.
To his credit, I'm not gonna slam him for this because this is the funniest thing he's done.
Just
The
my
funniest thing
opinion.
he's done was in that report to the bar, he said, I think Nick is a homosexual because
Really?
because he used a sexually charged insult of like, which didn't make sense to me, but I was like, he called me gay. That was the funniest thing he could have done. He told the lawyer's professional responsibility board that I was gay. I was like, that was good. That was a good
To
insult
that,
right
I would
there.
like to reply with a rejoinder of equal heft. I know you are, but what am I?
Takes one to know one, homo. No,
Your mama.
when I read that, I was like, well, that's funny. Like, that's actually really funny. I don't know what to even do with that because that's hilarious.
I feel, I can't imagine how my clients would react if if I went tattling to the principal over he called me a bad name. I mean, God, how pathetic.
Well, it's funny because so I was talking about this on a show earlier today. By the way, guys, go watch the Side Scrollers podcast I appeared on this morning. It was great. Stutter and Craig, super cool. Great interview. I wish I had more time. I had to I actually was 10 minutes late leaving that podcast. I had to leave very abruptly because he said, I told him I would give him 90 minutes, but I was 10 minutes late getting there. So I gave him 90 minutes. I had to leave 10 minutes earlier to do some tasks with the family. But we had buffer time, so it wasn't a big deal. But I felt bad having to leave right away from that thing. But go watch it. But in that, in that interview was just shit. Where was I going with this? Damn it! What did you just say?
I was calling him a wussy in various ways,
Yeah.
and laughing about how my clients would fire me if I
That's what it
went
was.
trying
That's
to.
what it was. Okay, so I try very hard not to misrepresent my legal experience, which is pretty limited as far as representing clients in court. I have taken cases to trial, but not jury trials. They're bench trials because that's the type of cases they were. My criminal trials either got pled out or dismissed. That's how we dealt with it, except for one where no, it was pled out too. So all of my cases were either pled out or dismissed. We did not have to go to jury trial. I don't misrepresent that in any way. But the funny thing about that was talking about I was reminding myself of the criminal defense representation I've done, and multiple of them, the defense was entirely on the First Amendment. So like adding to my resume that I successfully utilized and argue for the First Amendment when it even comes to myself with my own professional responsibility is not a knock on my profession, on my career. It is a notch in the belt of saying, no, I have won, and guys, I have won now 56 ethics complaints solely on the basis of my First Amendment right to say it. So there aren't too many lawyers out there. There aren't too many lawyers out there with 56 ethics complaints based entirely on First Amendment protected activity. And I'm going for the world record. I know it's going to happen at some point. But I
wonder what the record is in your state for most number of dismissed complaints.
It's got to be. I don't know what it could be. I'm like, I can't be that close to it, but maybe I am.
I'll be glad when these bar associations catch up to the 21st century.
They won't know what to do. That was one of the whole things that one of my other complaints was that I threatened to release the names and addresses that were provided to me because people sent bar complaints that were complete fictions. They lied about what I said and they sent a bar complaint. Well, a bar complaint is absolutely protected. So I cannot sue those people for lying about me, no matter what they do. They can file the bar complaint. They can go on Twitter. They can post it and they can say, look, I'm complaining about this asshole for what he said. And they can completely lie about what I said, which they did. I can't sue them. I can't do anything to them. And I said, well, they gave me their names and addresses. Maybe I'll post them. I didn't actually end up posting their addresses. I did read all their names. And I
bet you got some freaked out little shitheads though behind the scenes.
They immediately complained about that. And that was the other one I won, because I didn't actually post the addresses. I just talked about, hey, maybe I'll post the unredacted documents on my locals. And they're like, well, maybe you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, my first question though is like, and I'm not going to, because they basically told me if I did that, I would be disciplined, which I disagree with.
Or
but it's like,
what?
but it's like, wait, why? And they're like, well, you can't chill someone's ability to make a complaint
Oh,
about you.
they're making stuff up.
Oh, absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
I would win that case. I don't want to fight it, but I think I would win
Right.
that case going through the appeals process, because I don't think I'd win at the district court. But I don't want to fucking deal with that. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars of bullshit. But at the end of the day, it's like, wait, you filed a false complaint. You put and swore under oath that what you said was not false, even though it was, and you gave your name and address, and they told you they would send it to me. Why can't I share? Why would that be a violation of ethics? I don't actually understand that. I have no connection or duty to these people. These people tried to ruin my some part of my career. That was their intent. I don't think they would, even if they were successful. I don't think it would ruin my career, but that's what they wanted to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, wait, why can't I say this stuff? I can't give publicly available information. Like, your address is not private. You don't have a privacy concern in your address, and you gave it to me, you fucking idiot. But that was the whole thing. And it's like, wait, how is that not a violation of my First Amendment rights? Like, I didn't give that up just because someone decided to file a complaint against me that I have no privity of contract with, and I have no relation to any case with. You just got mad about what I said on a broadcast. If I wasn't a lawyer, I could post those addresses. The only reason I can't is because I'm a lawyer, but it's unrelated to my legal practice in any way, which is stated in the letter, by the way, that it's unrelated to my legal practice. They recognize that. And I'm like, wait, so how is that not just a de facto infringement on my First Amendment rights? By the way, Fire, if you're out there, Fire, if you're looking to go ahead and file those free speech cases against professional responsibility boards, I have a great one right now, because they told me they have chilled my speech in an effort for me to not chill speech as a non-government entity.
I would love to see Fire go after some of these bar associations.
Me too. Me too.
You know, something we should have talked about that we didn't, because we just get the gap. The whole Paxton thing here in Texas.
Oh, we should at some point talk about that, because him
tonight,
winning that,
but
he blew my. I thought he was going to lose. I thought he didn't even have the political will, because it looked like he didn't.
You know, I've visited a little bit with some people, and I can tell you right now, the whole thing, in a nutshell, it boils down to this. On the last day of the session in the legislature, you know, first of all, the reason you have legislative committees is the committee's job is to advise the legislative body as a whole, right? We think you should do this, that we have done the homework. You should rule this way. And so there's a social contract there. The committees are not supposed to bald ass lie, you know, to their caucus. And it would appear to me that that's exactly what happened. They bald ass lied, because I know a number of the representatives that voted to impeach him.
Yeah.
And they, you know, and they said none of them told me we were lied to, but what they said was, well, what they said turned out not to be true. Well, okay. Fine.
All of what you just said, I believe, but I also will say this. Ken Paxton is one of the savviest political monsters that lives on this planet. I mean, because I was convinced that his goose was fucking crispy.
Well, I remember we messaged one another. You told me he's dead, and I was like, well, but you remember I told you, I said I had a problem. I knew one legislator that voted to impeach him who was a stand-up guy who would never be involved in any kind of witch hunt like this, just wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I knew another guy who despises Paxton, and he voted not to impeach him.
Yeah.
And I couldn't reconcile those things. I was like, what? You know, these are both stand-up guys, but it makes perfect sense. The one guy believed the committee, the other didn't.
And here's what I want to say, though. Like, my assessment of Paxton's, where I thought he was going to lose, had nothing to do with if it was true.
It was just the resource differential,
and the political will coming at him was like, wait, your own party is selling you up river, like Jim from fucking Huck Finn. You're about to get I was like, you're done, dude. And then he
going
comes
to
out
be
and he wins, and I
interesting.
was like, okay.
Well, see,
Go
Texas has
Ken.
got this bizarre system where the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Texas is elected by the majority vote, and the Democrats, give them credit, they're a minority bloc, but they vote as a bloc. And so what they do is they cut a deal with moderate Republicans. So our Speaker is chosen by rhinos and Democrats.
Yeah.
And until we figure that out, the caucus gets together and ice picks that, we're going to keep having this problem. This guy Phelan is a walking nosebleed. He is an embarrassment. You know, he got pissy because Paxton called him out. You know, plus the Bushies are after Paxton because Paxton's had the audacity to beat them.
Yep.
But anyway, it turned out to be a very fascinating thing, and I was so glad. But I mean, Paxton was ballsy. They even cut his salary off, which they weren't permitted to do, and they said, "Fine, sue us." You know,
Yeah.
but they have, and the thing is, they made a terrible mistake. Even Genghis Khan always allowed his opponents a path of retreat because Genghis Khan understood that if you back somebody in a corner, they have no choice but to fight. And the way they did this was, if Ken had given into this, he would never have worked in this state again. And he would have been able to get a job as a janitor. So they wanted to totally destroy him. Well, I mean, I give Paxton all the credit in the world for fighting this, but he honestly had no choice. You know, so it's going to be very, and I think he's going to be vindictive about it too. I think he's
Oh
going to carry a
yeah.
grudge. So watch the regular
He should.
session. Watch. Oh, absolutely, you should. But I didn't mean to hijack the conversation. But I was like,
No.
that's one we should have. I should have called you, but I was in the middle of some crap and I couldn't really break away from it. I hadn't gotten all the story yet. I've got a few friends that I've said I don't want to know anything until after it was over, but I would like to hear behind the scenes. But I think when our lieutenant governor just reamed the speaker and his little cadre out. Of course, Patrick has been a great lieutenant. Texas politics are funky because our lieutenant governor is probably the most powerful figure, not our governor, because he more or less controls the legislative agenda, and the speaker on the House side, the speaker does. But we're going to have to solve for that problem. I mean, points to the Democrats for being shrewd enough to make a deal. So I give grudging admiration for that. But that's a problem for us to solve in the next few sessions, I think. Anyway, with Trump, I wanted to mention one thing. So
We
Trump,
got a lot more to talk about with Trump. We're not
oh
done with
yeah,
the
yeah.
topic.
Well, the other striking thing is so right out of the bat, you've got this idiot judge taking an absolutely inappropriate valuation methodology that anybody that knows anything about business and knows that you don't take appraisal district valuations because they are artificial. There's like in Texas, there's a homestead exemption. There's and the appraisal districts don't do any kind of analysis as to the actual value.
No,
All the appraisal district is saying is for property tax purposes, this is the value that we're going to use. That's really all that says.
so let
It's
me
a fact question.
Let me briefly explain how property tax valuations tend to work as someone who worked in banking, finance, and lending. Myself, and Ty, of course, is in different aspect of this, but at a higher level. But let me just talk in general about this. Your property tax valuation is typically, outside of very anomalous years, going to be well below your fair market value. Now, if you bought a home in January of 2008, and then you get a property tax assessment in 2009 based on the purchase price that you had in 2008, it is very possible at that point that your tax assessed value will be higher than the fair market value of your home during the mortgage crisis, which wouldn't really see a stabilization of real estate prices until somewhere mid 2010. So it is possible to have a tax assessed value higher. When that happens, though, what you can actually do is submit a request along with a personally funded appraisal to the property tax assessor and say, hey, my property is not actually at this value. Now, the risk that you run when doing that at any time is that they will run their own fair market value appraisal, sometimes at your expense, sometimes at theirs, to counteract the one that you've submitted, and they will determine that it comes out higher. But again, we're talking 2009 versus 2008 after the mortgage collapse. Now, in 2009, if you got a fair market value appraisal by a professional when property values had tanked something like 40 to 50% based on the overinflated values in 2008, you're going to get a lower appraisal than what your sale price was, and you're going to get your assessed value reduced based on that. Because your assessed value probably would have dropped something like 8% between, depending on the county you're in, but something like 8% between 2008 and 2009, when the fair market value probably dropped something like 20 to 70%, depending on where you are. So you would have gotten a decrease, but really we're entitled to much more. But the difference is, though, you would never request that valuation absent that sort of circumstance. And so what happens is property tax assessments increase usually on some sort of fixed value based on region. They don't.
It's also not uncommon for there to be a cap on how much they can raise property tax values every year.
And specifically in West Palm Beach, the cap on property tax assessment increases is 2%. And the reason is this is oceanfront property. And guys, I just drove. Okay, look at this. This road right here in the back between the beachfront and the property, this road, you drive past castles. I don't know how else to describe them. I've been to France. I've been to Versailles. I've been to Fontainebleau. I've been to Beauchamp. I've been to Chambord. I've been to Vaux-le-Vicomte. And then I went through the Loire River Valley and went to all these different faggy named chateaus, right? Those sit literally on the ocean line. And this is France. These are chateaus. You can actually buy some of them for pretty reasonable prices. You put them on the ocean in West Palm Beach, ocean side, not bay side of the island. And the value it's astronomical. It is unfathomable, but you are driving by 20,000 square foot castles that look like something out of a fairy tale. Mar-a-Lago dwarfs all of them. And when you're driving past them, all you can think of is, one, I don't see anyone in them. I know someone owns them and no one's there. Two, these are bigger than any houses I've ever seen, and they're on an ocean that is gorgeous because that ocean is blue. It's not green like the Gulf of Mexico. It is blue. The waves are amazing. The surf is wonderful. And there's a beautiful sand beach that runs along the front of all of those properties that you would kill to have access to. These are tens to hundreds of millions of dollars for normal sized castles. We're talking between 7,000 and 15,000 square feet. And Mar-a-Lago is 62,000 square feet. It's legitimately an area, and I've been in very rich places, and it's an area of real estate that I have not understood existed until driving past it. And you're like, what is this?
I had a client that had a 28,000 square foot home. And it's like it's nothing. I mean, nothing that you've ever
in Texas,
seen.
though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In Texas, in the middle of nowhere. Now put it on a fucking ocean.
Ocean. Yeah. Oh, no.
And
well,
the value goes up. Astronaut. Sorry, go ahead.
The value of something is a quintessential fact question. Okay. It is a question that the court has no expertise whatsoever in determining and must therefore take testimony. And this fucking judge, rules against Trump on a motion for summary judgment. Your audience is familiar with the motion for summary judgment, I'm assuming. That's where you grant a motion for summary judgment when there are no factual disputes. Well, this entire dispute is over the facts, and depriving Trump of the ability to put evidence before the court to cross-examine countervailing evidence is an absolute.
Why can't you bring the tax assessor before the court and say, how did you value
Because
this
the
property?
tax assessor would say we value it on a mathematical formula that's got absolutely nothing to do with fair market value. We're not in
Exactly.
the business of buying and selling properties.
So
You know,
this
I mean,
property valuation, this 18 million valuation comes from, if you look at it, it comes from the purchase price from when Trump bought Mar-a-Lago, when the property transferred, and then fair market value is affixed very, very reliably at the time of any purchase, because you have
sure,
to
because
assume,
money changed hands.
yes, someone said, I will sell it for this amount, and someone said, I will buy it for this amount, and they met on that number, and that's it. That is your, like, that's when you get a job at Walmart and they say, we're going to pay you $13 an hour or whatever, that's your fair market value until you prove otherwise. You're probably worth more, but you didn't find it. You did not go out and seek a higher value, and they gave you a number you would accept for yourself. That's the same thing with any property transaction or any other transaction. That is the fair market value. So they did that. And if you track it, West Palm Beach is capped at a 2% property tax increase. And the reason is because oceanfront property is going to massively increase in value at an unpredictable amount because it is such a finite and scarce resource. So they don't want to, like, if you value Mar-a-Lago as a tax value of $1 billion, the taxes on it are they're actually unsustainable, even for someone like Trump to do that, because you're talking about paying somewhere between 1 and 3% property tax. I don't know what the rate is, West Palm Beach, but even if it's 1%, that's $10 million on $1 billion.
Yeah, sure. Well, the problem here is it was the state's burden, I assume, to prove by a preponderance of the evidence, at least.
Yeah, it's a civil case, so preponderance of the evidence is the standard, 51%.
What evidence? Literally just saying the appraisal district carried at that value, and that proves greater than 51% or greater than 50%. That's beyond ridiculous. And I think probably, I could be wrong. We'll see how completely useless New York courts are. I can't imagine any sensible appeals court letting something like this stand, because the scope for mischief is limitless. This is this attack. This is going to get weaponized against politicians everywhere, and I damn sure expect. I want to see. There are conservative counties in New York. I want to see. Prominent liberals being brought up on this. And,
the best part about this article that I haven't even started reading yet is that this is New York real estate developers and appraisers going, no way. No, some of them have come out and they're like, look, we all we don't inflate the numbers as much as Trump. We all inflate the numbers, but like, there's no way. But I would argue that Trump's value assessment is not actually inflated due to the specifics of his case. But here's what we need to do.
Who's going to gainsay him? This is Donald Trump's property. This is a property. I mean, again, fine. Where's the expert testimony?
Ty, not only is this Donald Trump's property, the valuation is from 2018. So not only is it Donald Trump, it's Donald Trump, the president of the United States, with his property that is specific. It's the only property that everyone knows. If you say Mar-a-Lago, you know it's Donald Trump. If you say the name of any of his other properties, you don't actually know.
No, that's right. The name cachet alone. I mean, to say nothing of the valuation of the asset as an operating business. See, that's a whole different level. It's not just the value of the property. I mean, that's worked up in it. But if Mar-a-Lago is spinning off, let's say, $200 million a year of net profit, well, then it's $1 billion asset easy.
Yeah, of course.
If it's spinning off $100 million a year with that location, with that physical plant, it's still probably $1 billion asset. So, and again, Donald Trump is not a real estate appraiser. He's not certified to give an expert opinion on that. And the form just simply says, list your value, and you list,
Trump effectively said that in 2018, he'd sell Mar-a-Lago for $860 million. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, if he put it up on the market in 2018 for $860 million, someone would have bought it.
Oh,
guaranteed. Because if you're a Coke, if you're a Republican or a right-wing person, whether you like or dislike Trump, at $860 million, you're going to buy his namesake as president. Yeah, it's worth its weight in gold. We're going to get to that in a
Well, I
minute.
mean, this judge is an utter embarrassment to the legal profession, and I don't say that lightly because Lord knows, we have our share of useless people in our profession. But to sit
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Ty?
take that down. That's creepy.
Coming from inside the house, Ty.
Yeah. That's even okay. Stop it.
I can't stop it. It should be there for the rest of the stream.
You can't stop the stream. I'm gonna have a nightmare about that tonight. Thank God I didn't drink anything. Good grief.
I'm gonna send it to you on every single communication line that we have.
Yeah.
We're gonna have it. You're gonna be like, oh, I got another notification from Nick. Must be a thank you for this. Oh my God.
Make it stop.
I'm gonna mail you a tablet that just plays it over and over. Like, you're gonna, oh, Nick bought me an iPad. That's really, oh my God.
That's
oh
hilarious.
my goodness. Okay, here's what I need to do. Here's what we need to do. Let me read the super chats from YouTube. There's one Rumble rant that we need to read, and then we're going to move over to Rumble exclusively, and I'm going to run to the bathroom right after that.
I don't have to do anything, right? It'll just transition.
I'll handle all of this. The only thing you'll have to do is you'll have to talk to my friend Mohammed while I'm gone at the bathroom, and then I'll be right back, and then we'll finish talking about this this Trump stuff. But we do have more to talk about this because I haven't even gotten into the article yet, and I just, God damn it, Ty, I fucking enjoy talking to you.
We ought to do this more often. I know I say this every time.
Me too. And I'm always like, God, Ty's busy. I don't want to bother him.
It's not busy so much. Just I go to bed early. You were actually, I didn't really realize that, but last time when I was at ReaperCon, you said, I think Ty comes on because that's one of the few times he stays up really late.
Yeah.
And you're actually right about that.
Well, the one time I did a 24-hour stream, and I still owe one of them. I gotta find time to do it. The one time I did a 24-hour stream though, people may not remember. You showed up at like 5 a.m. because you're like, I'm awake. Here's when I always wake up.
The sun came up. I was on my back porch.
Yeah. It's like you're outside with an iPad, and all it hears is birds and lawnmowers, and you're like, my name is Ty, and all you hear is mowing.
Oh yeah, the lawnmower guy.
It's like iPad microphones suck because all they pick up is background noise and not foreground noise. So let me read these. I'll run to the bathroom in just a minute after we switch over to Rumble, and then we'll continue because this is so important, and I love that you're here. And I haven't even been abusing you on really getting into this thing, but we need to. So here we go. Tara Rayner says, expert in Trump Colorado case. I have named Ozempic Fetterman, John Fetterman's malnourished twin. All cases against Trump have effed up looking people. Look, I don't want to be crude about this, but the reason is leftists, liberal, and I do not mean people who are Democrats or who lean left. I mean true adherents to the cause of leftism are hideous monsters without fail. They're hideous monsters. And the reason that they're true adherents to the cause is because they're hideous monsters and they need something to latch onto. And I will never apologize for that. There are center left people all over the place who are very, attractive, comely people, and they're just normal. You'll find them everywhere. When you get into the fringes of the left, you will find monsters beyond Lovecraft's imagination. Whoa. Okay, here we go. Swedish asylum seeker says, Ty looking like Matt Walsh with the beard and plaid. Don't do that to Ty. Matt Walsh likes eating man booty and Ty does not. Ty, have you heard of Matt Walsh?
I don't know who Matt. No, I don't. I have no idea who he is.
You've not. Matt Walsh. He made a documentary. Ty, do you know what the documentary was called?
No.
What is a woman?
Oh dear Lord.
Do you know what a woman is, Ty?
Yeah.
Did you need a documentary to find one?
No. From the time I was about 7 years old, I realized that women were different in a most agreeable way.
They're so cool, aren't they?
I never really went through that hating girls stage. I mean, you
I think
know,
they have all the fun stuff.
y- well, yeah, but what I
Wait, I'm not even.
realized,
I'm not talking about what you're talking about.
apparently not.
No, I wasn't talking about like physical attributes. Like that's disgusting. How can you
Oh
reduce
yeah,
someone to
right.
that?
No,
No, no. Women have
pretty easily actually.
women have all the fun stuff like neuroses and
Oh,
I'm
oh, I
joking.
see. I
I'm
see.
joking. I'm
Yeah,
joking.
yeah.
Almighty Snoopy says, just wait until they ban caliber. They do in hunting. No more 5.56. It's the next step. Yeah, of course.
What now?
They're talking
What?
about this is back when we were well, it wasn't when we were talking about guns, but they mean like
Uh-huh.
you can't hunt with an AR-15 that's chambered in 5.56 or 223, right? Like that would be the
Right.
next step is to ban that thing, that caliber.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
to use 30
They've
6 or you got
they've
to use
utterly
243.
right. Let's use a much higher powered rifle that's far more dangerous. Yeah, they've lost their mind on the AR-15.
Dude, I want to make an AR 30-6. Does someone want to help? Like, I got to call Brandon Herrera. I know he's trying to do that AK 50 thing, but let's just put hunting rounds with a 30 round magazine, but let's use a wood stock so it's not scary.
So it's safe. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Uh,
let's just,
well,
oh, could you
well, the
imagine?
BAR, the Browning automatic rifle, was 30-06. I can't imagine firing
The Brown, the M,
automatic
wait, is
30-06.
the M1 Browning? The one
No,
with the
no,
big,
the
the big tube
no,
that
no, no,
kept it
no.
cool?
It
Okay.
was called the BAR, and it looked like more or less a modern assault rifle. It had a detachable magazine. It was
Okay.
a good looking gun actually, but it was big and heavy, and so they stopped using them after World War II when they went to the
That's,
M14.
look, carrying
But
as dumb as it is, uh, sliding in a magazine, even a polymer magazine with 30 rounds of 223 or 5.56 adds a massive amount of weight to a gun. Like
yeah,
not,
yeah,
I mean, it's obviously not unbearable, but you have a frame of an AR, it's like 4.5, 5.5 pounds, something like that. And then you slide in that, the thing, it adds a pound and a half to it. And that's like what 15 to 20% weight
hmm
increase.
hmm
That's actually
Now
crazy when you think about it.
I've got an M1A, which is the semi-automatic version of the M14, which was the predecessor to the M16.
Right.
And it's a full scale. It's basically an M1 Garand with a detachable magazine. It's more than that, but it's a battle rifle. Uh, that thing with 20 round magazine, you,
Have I
you feel it.
have I ever shown you my 1916 Spanish bayonet?
Ooh, pretty
Yeah. It's got a cut
nice.
like the whatever soldier it is, he custom carved. You can't see it because I can't focus, but he custom
Oh,
carved
there
some
it is.
lines
I
in
see
the
that.
hilt. And I checked it out. The imprint is really hard to see, but there was enough of it that I could actually find it online. It's pretty cool. The sheath I have is fake. And
The bayonet was a revolutionary weapon system when
you can
it
tell the sheath
first
is
came
fake
out.
because if you can see it, there's staples. There are metal staples here and here, which they would not have
Uh-huh.
had in 1916. So the sheath is a recreation, but the bayonet itself is real. It's really cool. I love this thing.
It's
I think
really
this
pretty.
I think it attaches to an M1, right? Like I think that's the
Probably a grand, yeah.
yeah, I think that would have been
Hard
the
to tell
gun.
from just yeah, hard, but yeah, rifle, not
Next time
gun.
I come down, I'll bring it down with me.
Okay. Yeah, I
But
don't own a grand. I've got to add one. I've actually started adding guns again to my life. I've bought a PPK, Walther PPK
yeah, we're
last
gonna
week.
show it when we're on Rumble. We can't
Oh
show those
yeah,
on
yeah,
live on YouTube.
yeah,
No, I got that. I was in Hawaii, and Lady Raggets likes to go to antique shops, and we went to a shop that buys estates in Hawaii, which you can only imagine what's in them.
yeah. Mm.
One of them,
Oh,
because like these are rich people that retire to Hawaai and they bring insane stuff. One of them was a dinner table made out of the wing of a famous private aircraft.
ooh,
I wish I remembered what it was or took a picture. It was so fucking cool. It was a dinner table and it's just like flat on one side, right? And it's the wing of this thing and it's huge table. And I was like, God, I want this. How do I get this from Maui to my house? I can't.
it's
But
like the guy said in the Michael Keaton Batman, the rich. Do you know why they're so weird? Because they can be.
yeah. Oh, here's the one thing I bought from that store though. I bought Lady Ragged's a ton of stuff from that store, but I did buy this. This is my leather bound edition of David Copperfield by Charles Dickens.
Oh wow.
And it was this was from 1928, printed in Great Britain in 1928. So I bought this. I don't know what its value is. I paid $50 for it. And I was like, this thing is cool. Look at
I
this.
made my
It's almost
saving
100
throw.
years old.
When I came to see you in Las Vegas, I made my saving throw. I had just come off of a large business deal and it was very, very lucrative and da 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 da. And the bookstore in that hotel had a
Oh,
first edition Casino Royale, first James Bond novel, and I was like, oh, pretty.
dude, I had to restrain myself. Well, I didn't have to restrain myself. I couldn't actually afford it, but I tried to buy a Japanese man's soul because I went to an antique store, or not an antique store. It was it was a rich people store, whatever the fuck it's called. They had all sorts of
Probably
stuff.
rich people store and only
They had a 16th century samurai sword with the name of the samurai who owned it.
Ooh.
Is $150,000. And I was like,
had the laminated blade, the Damascus style blade. I mean, the Japanese,
so pretty. And the scabbard was like so unassuming because it's 1500s, right? Like, but you know, the blade in there is like, this was not a samurai sword from a 19th century Japanese officer as they're modernizing. This is a samurai sword of a 1500s feudal warrior who literally believed that his soul was infused in the blade he's wielding. And I was like, God, I want to own a Japanese man's soul, and I just want to put it on a rack and play anime in front of it all day. I just want to play anime in front of it. And between every episode of One Piece, all 1,200 episodes of One Piece, I just want to play a short animation of Hiroshima being bombed and saying, this is what we did to you, you fucking Japanese bastard. And now I own you. Now watch it every... That's what I wanted to do. I want to put googly eyes on it too, just so you could watch what happened. I think I might be evil and have mental problems.
You're a lot more ambitious than I am. That's for sure.
But I was like, I was not considering paying $150,000 for a sword. They had one of those 19th century swords from just a Japanese officer in the army who would still carry like a katana that was probably stamped out. And it was like 7,000 or 8,000. I was like, but they didn't, at that point, they didn't believe in it anymore.
It was still ceremony. It was ceremonial at that point. It wasn't actually. That weapon was probably used to take people's lives. I mean, it was.
Yeah, and I was watching. I was looking at it. It was like they didn't have a price listed on it. You had to ask specifically what the and the crazy thing was, like, we somehow convinced them that my asking was worth them telling me the answer, and we didn't buy anything. We didn't buy anything from the store at all. But we convinced them by like what we asked questions about that they should maybe answer. And that was funny. But I was like, so what's the, tell me about that blade. And he's like, oh yeah, that's 150,000. I was like,
wow.
Well, if it was a German soul, if it was a German soul, I'd pay that, but not for Japanese.
Not for Japanese. No.
Just kidding. God damn it. Okay, here we go. Nick Naylor says, correct my logic if I'm wrong, but it seems to me in a situation where you're going to lose the trial anyways, it might be easier to go after a judge appointment by an opposing political party than a jury on appeals. Actually, I think Trump's attorneys, and we'll talk about this a little bit more as we get into the gag orders, they are trying to build a record of bias from Engoron, and they're doing a great job. I don't know if they'll win.
Engoron's not making it hard on him.
No, he's not. He's an unhinged lunatic. Kate C, aka Snake Plush Kitten, says, eye bleach. I need eye bleach. Those pics. You mean those pecs? Am I right, girl? Brian says, Engoron refused to transfer this case to the commercial division. By the way, he has ruled against Trump on 100% of motions, also has ignored appellate statute of limitations ruling. He half ignored it and half applied it in one decision to give him some half credit. He half applied it in one decision by basically stating that he wanted to hear evidence that didn't violate the statute of limitations ruling. Now, to give a minor amount of deference to the judge, this is a bench trial. And so judges in bench trials will hear inadmissible evidence because they believe they're immune from influence from it.
And which is ridiculous. They're not.
It is ridiculous,
It's
but
infuriating, but
to give the minorest ground of deference as a humble lover and giver that I am, Engeron.
Yes, I've always considered you a giver.
Yeah, Engeron, you have my number. I will give you advice on how to quit steroids. But to give him the minorest deference, I will say that it is possible that Engeron had prepared himself based on that statute of limitations ruling to disregard any testimony prior to that related to any transaction or information prior to 2014, but he would hear it in case they were able to make a sufficient tangible link to 2014 and later activities to that earlier stuff. Now, I'm not saying he's perfect, but it is possible that he could have already said in his mind,
argument.
I will cut it off. I don't
it's a colorful argument.
Yeah, I don't trust that he's done that. I'm just saying it's possible he could do that and still just hear the information, ignore it unless they sufficiently tie them together. I don't think they can, and I don't think he's done it, but he may not have ignored the statute of limitations ruling. If there was a jury trial and he acted in the same way, yeah, appealable error. This one, because it's a bench trial and only that, he may be able to say, no, I was just hearing it for the purposes of the possibility that they may link it tangibly and it'd be applicable, but I knew it wasn't likely going to be because of the ruling from the appeals court. That being said, we are going to one more on Rumble. Shadow says, howdy Ty, go to arrowvideo.com. Heard you say Conan. Also Dune, most in-depth analysis, please. Not tonight. I hate you guys. We're gonna do a Dune stream sometime, or my next 24-hour stream. I'm gonna bring you on for Dune only.
Dune pill, Nick.
Ty needs to go to cons more often so he can come on the show more. Always a fun time. I agree. Ty get on. Guys, we're gonna flip to Rumble. Right after with the flip, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Ty's gonna entertain you with juggling or whatever. We'll come back. We'll finish up this.
How do I see the chat on Rumble? Do I just need to go to Rumble?
I'm gonna send you. Where should I send you on? Can I send you on Messenger?
You can Facebook it, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to send you the link to the pop-out chat on Facebook, similar to what I would do with YouTube on Rumble. And I think this will show you everything you need.
Our buddy Matt Wilson sends you his regards, by the way.
Matt is on. God, I love that guy.
He's a good guy, isn't he?
Yeah. All right, guys.
Very good lawyer.
If you want to join us over on Rumble, please follow the link that is pinned in the chat and also follow the link in the description on YouTube. We will see you over there in 25 seconds.
404 not found.
Okay, I'll give you this one. And you can, you know what, Ty. Follow us over there. And then if you want to join us over on Rumble, great. If you don't, I'll see you tomorrow on YouTube for the Friday show. And we'll keep going. I'll talk to you guys in 25 seconds. Peace.